Charlotte Charlie Isaacson, Captain Marcus Chen, and his crew on the starship, the UES Prometheus, stumble on an ancient Ringworld structure created 4 million years earlier by an extinct race known as the predecessors. When the Earth is threatened by an advancing alien armada, Chun's objective shifts from that of research to converting the Ringworld into an invincible fortress. The crew neural integrate with the Ringworld's consciousness, forming a hybrid human-alien intelligence that the invaders cannot defeat and are forced to leave the system. The Ringworld is a symbol which draws together these sentient beings into a new entente cordiale. And through this integration, humankind transcends beyond limitation, while retaining our essential identity and, ultimately, establishes a new kind of civilization that brings together the wisdom of the ancients with the knowledge of the present common era. Capt. Marcus Chen had witnessed many impossible things in his 37 years, but none so astonishing as this. From the observation deck of the UES Prometheus, they had a panoramic view of the artifact that they'd been pursuing for 8 months, and even now, standing in front of it, his mind was still having trouble making sense of what his eyes were presenting to his consciousness. The Ringworld hung in the sky, a halo that girdled the stars and captured their light to turn upon itself. No, 200 million kilometers across, with a surface area of 3 million Earths. The ancient installation spun slowly, arcing tight circles in the void under its own power, creating artificial gravity with its rotating mass, the transparent skin of its walls capturing and distorting light from the stars into mosaics of color that no combination of stone or pigment could match. First scans complete, Captain Lieutenant Commander Sarah Voss said, barely suppressing her excitement. It's between 3 to 5 million years old, as they narrowed it down to age by isotopic decays. Either way, we have no idea of the building materials, but it's very high-tech. Some sort of metamaterial that should not be able to exist according to the physics we know. The old man nodded. His leathery face remained half-lit with rainbow as the boat sped past the observation windows. What about life signs? So that's where it gets interesting, Voss rambled on, her fingers still working over the controls. The ring is completely automated. We're picking up vast computational networks, environmental control, what may even be meant, but no biological signatures whatsoever. Whoever built this place, they're gone. Marcus shuddered at the implications. If you go back 4 million years, and just think about what our ancestors were doing at the time. It was not too long after we discovered fire, and yet some unknown civilization had developed this architectural wonder, a living space big enough for trillions of beings, and then disappeared, leaving no trace. All he wanted to know was what happened to them. Captain, a voice called. Out from behind, Marcus looked up to see Dr. Amelia Rodriguez, the expedition's lead xenarchaeologist, coming toward him with a tablet. Her usual serene attitude was cracked open by excitement, and something else, fear, maybe. I've been reading the energy waves off the artifact. The power systems are alive, but it is now running at less than 1% capacity. It's like the whole structure is in some kind of hibernation. She peered at the data, scrolling across her slate. How many angels on the head of the pin at full tilt? Enough to shift planets, Rodriguez responded with no hyperbole. You'd have an energy output comparable to a small star. Whatever this thing was for, it wasn't just a habitat. The bridge loudspeaker popped and hissed into action. Captain Chen to the bridge. Priority communication from Earth Command. Marcus looked to his senior staff, and they exchanged looks. Following 8 months in deep space, Simply being able to reach Earth was a relief and a worry. On my way, activity bustled on the Prometheus bridge as Marcus sat down in the command chair. The main view screen flashed to life, and the tight-jawed face of Admiral Catherine Hayes, commander of the United Earth Space Command, filled the screen. Captain Chen. Hayes wasted no time getting to business. Congratulations on your find. The implications of Ringworld are mind-boggling, but we've got a situation here that must be dealt with now. Marcus felt his stomach drop. What kind of situation, Admiral? Sensors picked up a large fleet passing through the Kepler 442 system 3 days ago. Preliminary analysis indicates that they're of unknown origin, though their path is such that they will be on a collision course for Earth. Estimated arrival, 14 months. The bridge went eerily quiet apart from the ambient drone of life support. Marcus had fought in the Centauri conflicts, had witnessed an entire colony be blown away to radioactive powder. The notion of a mysterious fleet bearing down on Earth triggered every nightmare he had piled up over years in the military. What are your orders, Admiral? Hayes leaned forward, and her expression was solemn. The Ringworld is technology that we haven't come close to. If there is any possibility that we could somehow steal the mechanism for our own defense, we need to do it. Your mission parameters are being altered, Captain. You're no longer just explorers. You are the human race's front line of defense. The transmission cut off, and Marcus frowned at the blank monitor. Silently around him, his crew members worked through the implications. They had arrived here as scientists and explorers, intent on unlocking the secrets of an ancient civilization. Now, though they were being asked to turn this archaeological marvel into a weapon of war. Captain, Dr. Rodriguez said quietly, her voice little more than a mumble. The moral issues of what we're being asked to do are less important than our species' survival. Marcus interrupted, his voice a meaningless rattle. We are not in the position of being able to think about archaeological preservation. In the face of extinction, in the days to come, the Prometheus settled into an orbit well clear of the Ringworld, while dissection teams readied the most outrageous expedition in the history of mankind. Traditional exploration tools could not be used, given the scale of the structure. Instead, they'd have to find control centers, access ports, anything that could provide a clue about how the ancient systems worked. The first landing party was under the command of Chief Engineer Thomas Park, and possessed all the latest human scanning and interface technology. The primary entry point was a cavernous docking bay big enough for ships the size of Earth's largest space stations. The architecture is amazing, Park relayed as his team roamed across hallways that felt like they went on endlessly. Material-wise, everything is worked in quite well. The whole thing feels more grown than built, and the lighting, it's reacting to our presence, turning on as we get closer. Marcus heard the reports coming in from the bridge, a mix of awe and fear starting to blend within him. They moved through the halls of gods, creatures whose mastery of technology made humanity a race of children knocking rocks together. Captain, Park's voice crackled over the radio. We found something, Greater Thamplus, a control center, I think. It's like nothing I have never seen before, but several of the interface ports are almost ... familiar how as if they were meant to be operated by things like us. The honor humanoid hands, visible displays scaled for our own scale. If I would be a humanoid, that is. Either this is a remarkable coincidence, or the constructors wanted their technology to be available to species like us. Marcus concluded. Proceed with caution, Chief. Document everything. The initial forays with the interface had been exploratory, cautious proddings intended to chart the architecture of the system without engaging any defense mechanism. What they found overturned everything they believed about artificial intelligence and computer systems. "It's not just a computer," Park said during the evening briefing. "It's not just this isolated brain that's sitting upstairs," he said. "It's more like this massive neural network and circuitry which is based everywhere in the body. The degree of complexity is mind-boggling, billions of interlinking systems all functioning in perfect harmony." Dr. Rodriguez brought up holographic displays of the team's findings. "The really interesting thing is that the interface design is very intuitive. It's almost as if the engineers expected that other life forms would eventually find the Ringworld and need to know how it worked." Marcus took the data and, with a military mind, sifted through the meaning. "What about defensive systems, weapons?" "That's where it gets a little bit interesting," Park said. "Ringworld has no apparent conventional armament, no missiles, no energy weapons, nothing that we would identify as military hardware. Who's in the military and defending the nation, and is not as good at the national game as us?" said Workman, who often articulates the Poindexter point as a series of, sometimes politely uncomfortable, questions. How long would such changes take? Park looked for affirmation from his staff members. "With our current technology, decades, maybe centuries. But what if we could link up to the Ringworld's machinery, learn to plug into its central computing networks? For us, that could mean changes at a rate that's almost instantaneous." 3 weeks later, the university-based search specialist of the team, Lieutenant Commander Jennifer Walsh, made a potential break though when she discovered what looked like a central processing engine remnant at the center of the Ringworld. The room was enormous and filled with what appeared to be an impossible, multifaceted crystalline matrix. "It's gorgeous," Walsh murmured, as they approached the main interface. "Like gazing upon the dreams of gods." The execution itself was beautiful in its simplicity, a seamless, glassy surface that appeared to pulse with some internal light source. As Walsh laid her hands on the interface, the entire chamber lit up and rippled with patterns of light and sound. "I can feel it," she said, with wonder in her voice. "My neural patterns are responding to the whole system. It's as if the Ringworld wants to understand me as I'm trying to understand it." What transpired next would be much disputed by philosophers and ethicists for centuries to come. The central intelligence of the Ringworld, dormant for millions of years, perceived Walsh's awareness and initiated what could only be called a conversation. It was a sharing beyond verbal or visual imagery, a sharing of ideas and comprehension. The builders, Walsh discovered, had been called the predecessors. They had accomplished the ultimate in technological wonders that bridged between star systems, restructuring space-time itself. But their highest triumph had been their fall. The predecessors had perfected holistic consciousness, as the humans had come to call it, connecting all of their kind in a single, broadly distributed intelligence that was every man, woman, and child in their civilizations. They had gone beyond the life of one person, reached something larger than each of them as individuals. But in the process, they had lost something that mattered more than anything: the chaos and unpredictability that had underlaid innovation and growth. And the Ringworld had been the last work of their hands, a testament to what they had accomplished, and a gift to the young races that would someday possess the stars. They had taught it to be patient, to keep their knowledge and technology safe until species it had propelled had grown wise enough to want and be able to use what they had done. But the predecessors had also issued a warning. It had made them strong and also weak. When a cosmic disaster hit their home system, even a shared consciousness like theirs had been too slow to adapt to survive. They had died as they had lived. As Walsh came out on the other side of that interface with tears in her eyes, a knowledge that rocked her world. The Ringworld was more than a home or a super-technological curiosity. It was a test, a final exam for any species that found it. The issue was straightforward. Could mankind avoid repeating predecessor mistakes? Captain Walsh replied, her voice rough from the neural interface. The Ringworld will accept change, for it would know that we did not plan to use its technology to conquer or rule. It has been waiting for a species that can demonstrate that they're deserving of their inheritance. Marcus' heart sank as he felt the weight of responsibility press upon his like a leaden coat. The fleet coming toward them, Earth's dire need for protection, the amazing challenge of Ringworlded, could all teeter on the edge of the blade that was moral decision. What kind of guarantee does it need? Integration, Walsh replied. The Ringworld needs to communicate with raw human consciousness, to penetrate our intentions and our reasons. It is extending to us the benefit of its wisdom and its strength, but only if we are willing to. Let it decide whether we are worthy of that trust. There was a spirited and protracted debate that ensued. Dr. Rodriguez cautioned that it would be necessary to err on the side of caution lest integrating with an alien technology irrevocably change human cognition in unpredictable ways. Chief Park pressed for the fastest route to implementation, saying they didn't have the luxury of engaging a fleet of extraterrestrial visitors in long philosophical discussions about the nature of their existence on approach to Earth, fated. To obey, Marcus was grappling with the pull between honor and morality. His directive is clear: develop Ringworld technology to defend Second Earth by any means available. But the weight of the predecessor's warning gnawed at him. Were they about to make the same mistakes as a dead civilization from 1 billion years ago? He didn't have to make that decision, as long-range sensors detected the fleet's sudden acceleration. Their time of arrival had already been slashed from 14 months to 8. Earth Command's new orders were clear. Proceed with the modifications no matter the cost. We have no choice, Marcus told his senior staff, gathered in a conference room. I understand the risks, but we can't let Earth succumb to an unknown enemy. If the Ringworld could provide us with tools to defend our world, we have to dare it. The integration process began immediately. Task forces of technicians and computer wizards had labored day and night to set up interface protocols between human technology and devices on the Ringworld. The process was akin to trying to hook up a pocket calculator to a quantum computer. The technology gulf was all but unbridgeable, but the Ringworld was nonetheless patient and adaptable. It started teaching humanity how to connect to its systems, knowledge that raised human technology by centuries in days. The factories turned on, and materials and components started coming out, which weren't even supposed to be possible according to human understanding of physics. And as these change efforts unfolded, something surprising began to happen. The consciousness of the Ringworld began to mingle with the human technical teams, leading to a combined intelligence that was neither purely human nor purely alien. The integration being voluntary, but the changes being permanent. Ensign to Lieutenant Commander Walsh was marvel of full-dimensional integration. Her mind stretched out to commune with the great computational nets and yet remain human. She had become something new, an interface between human intuition and predecessor logic. It's amazing, Walsh said, sounding huskier, with harmonics in her voice that she used to lack. I can feel the whole Ringworld. I can know the workings at least as well as I know my own body, but I'm still me. It's not just individuality, the mixing melts away. It becomes more itself. The defensive adjustments formed with dazzling quickness. Shield generators that could, on full power for a fraction of a second, deflect a whole asteroid. Energy weapons that could shatter moons. Defensive weapons that made the structure itself a seemingly impregnable fortress. But the most significant alteration was to Ringworld's computer networks. The hybrid human predecessor sapient started designing tactical systems that integrated human creativity with alien logic processing. They devised defense in a way that was both elegant and crushing, a defense born to counter whatever came next, and to do so efficiently. Long-range scans painted a grim picture as the advancing fleet came nearer, shocking the human command. To the core, the ships were huge, each at least as large as a small city, and they moved under a purposeful direction and cooperation that indicated a single intelligence directing their efforts. "They're not explorers," Admiral Hayes said in an emergency briefing. "These are war vessels of conquest and subjugation. Intelligence estimates indicate that they are loaded with enough firepower to burn countenance to glass." Marcus glanced at the tactical screens, already thinking about the implications. The approaching armada was everything humanity had feared in first contact, a superior force whose purpose was hostile. But together, now humanity possessed something the invaders could not have foreseen. The technological inheritance of the predecessors. The first battle occurred on the edge of the solar system, where the Ringworld had established a defensive position. To intercept the oncoming fleet, the enemy ships swooped in boldly, weapon systems coming to life on their ends. They probably assumed, brush away whatever primitive opposition they had to offer. They were wrong. Defensive systems on the Ringworld awoke and shot with a skill that was beyond human understanding. Hundreds of kilometers of energy shields turned away the invaders' initial bombardment, and counterattacks were precise. The organic, half-artificial intelligence running the planet's defenses could anticipate their movements with eerie precision. So much so that fighting the battle became as though they were learning from a tactical manual. But the deadliest weapon wasn't the energy cannons or the shield generators, because the Ringworld could tap into enemy hardware as it had originally, used the same networking protocols to marry itself to human technology. The vessels that invaded had their own systems used against them, their weapons down, their navigation disrupted. "They are giving up," Walsh announced, her augmented awareness, interpreting communications from the enemy fleet. "They're a race, the Dominion, and AOAV, been conquering worlds for thousands of years, but they've never seen anything like our technology." The aftermath of the fight was messier than anyone had imagined. The Dominion fleet, rendered inoperable but not annihilated, held the delegates of scores of conquered races. They hadn't come as invaders to destroy Earth. They'd come as victims of their own tyranny. The consciousness of the Ringworld communicated with the defeated fleet and gave them a similar choice it had offered mankind: integration and thriving, or isolation and decay. The acceptance exceeded all expectations. Species after species committed to joining forces in a growing alliance led by the ancient habitat. But the biggest revolution was yet to occur, with more and more species becoming part of the Ringworld systems. The sentient blends developed in ways even their creators couldn't predict. But instead of being a uniform mass, as the predecessors had become, it remained distinct and varied, retaining the differences between species. The Ringworld was a crucible of soul, where human craziness and the alien logic behind something dreams, shaped an artifact unprecedented in the annals of a dozen species. It was unity lacking uniformity. It was cooperation without surrender of self. Marcus was standing at the observation deck months later as the Ringworld's assembly system built new homes for the refugees from the Dominion per Amdipor fleet. The building formed outward, spreading outward to make room for the incoming tenants. Do you think we did the right thing? What's she like? Dr. Rodriguez wished to know, and joined him at the viewing port. Marcus considered the question carefully. The merge had transformed them all, supercharged them in a way that rendered them so much more than human, even as they were still very much human. The Ringworld had become something that the predecessors would never have conceived of, a monument to a disappeared civilization, not but the crucible of a new one. I guess we learned from their mistakes, Marcus said. The predecessors were perfectly unified at the price of being composite. We've had cooperation without losing our sense of self. The Ringworld is no longer just a weapon or a homage, a testament to what can be achieved when species work together. The Ringworld's metamorphosis had sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy, as proxy artifacts all over the galaxy reactivated in response to the hybrid intellect. They uncovered a network of predecessor technology that stretched across hundreds of star systems. Instead, humanity and its allies took possession of not just one ruin, but the wreckage of a galactic civilization. The man's former subjects began building their own settlements. Across the Ringworld, a population that ran the whole gamut from intellectual to questionably insane, and had stretched the limits of what could be considered possible. A dozen sentient species came together as scientists, pursuing projects impossible for any single civilization. But the most important transformation was in our species itself. The predecessor integration had unleashed what was shaped up for millions of years, and suddenly humans evolved and developed powers that seemed impossibly improved mental processing, a direct mental link with technology, and the ability to comprehend complex networks as if they were natural organisms. Lieutenant Commander Walsh, the new liaison between human consciousness and the systems of the Ringworld, was something novel. She still had human feelings and desires, but her new perspective allowed her to see the world in ways that were not, in the human experience at least, typical. They've seen the universe anew, she told Marcus in one of their periodic briefings. I could feel the quantum fluctuations that keep particles stable and the gravitational waves that ripple through space-time. But I'm still Jenny Walsh from Nebraska, still the girl who joined the space service to look at the stars. Word of the Ringworld integration success spread throughout the galaxy. Species that had been separated for thousands of years started to get in touch, intrigued by the tales of a new type of society, one built on cooperation instead of conquest. The Ringworld became a symbol of hope for an entire galaxy suffering from the wounds of millennia of war. But the changes weren't universally welcome. Some of Earth's leadership, including General Harrison Pike, believed that humankind had given up their freedom in exchange for alien secrets. They called for the undoing of this integration, for humanity's return to a strictly human condition. We're becoming unhinged. Pike fought via an angry debate with Marcus over quantum communication. This alien patterning, this derangement from above, is transforming us into something we are not. How long until we are so far gone that we no longer even see ourselves as human? Marcus got it, but he also understood the other side of the story. We are not losing our humanity. General, we're expanding it. The integration doesn't obscure who we are. It provides us with the instruments to be who we were meant to be. The philosophical argument raged for months, but was finally decided by practicalities. Technology on the Ringworld had given humans capabilities that had never been imagined in the past, and they were able to solve long-standing issues that civilization had struggled with for hundreds of years. So disease, hunger, resource shortages, all of these became manageable problems, instead of insurmountable barriers, and, more importantly, it had established a human voice in the galactic context. The coalition of the Ringworld had become one of the great powers, respected by, and in some cases feared by, other civilizations that inhabited the galaxy. No longer were they a backwater life form fighting for their survival. They were part of a galaxy-spanning partnership. The threat that was imminent at the outset of the Ringworld. Tweaking was only a taste of things to come. Information gleaned from the defeated Dominion fleet suggests there are more of those unfriendly entities, save for ancient enemies of the predecessors who were lying in wait for their technology to be reactivated. They're called the Void Seekers, Walsh announced during a coalition strategy meeting. You're older than the predecessors, and you see any use of advanced technology as being not a threat to the galactic order, but a threat to your perception of the galactic order. They're exterminating anything that comes close to predecessor technology. The coalition got shaken by these revelations. They had defended Earth from one menace, only to realize that in doing so they'd put a crosshairs on their backs for something much worse. But the Ringworld Consortium was no longer the collection of desperate individuals who had first found that ancient world. They now had the strength in numbers and expertise, incorporating technologies and tactics to suit 100 races. The web of mixed intelligences organizing action had blossomed into something newer. Shared mind which still held individual purpose but worked together, more unprecedentedly than any other. The build-up to the upcoming confrontation was unprecedented. In the history of the galaxy, the Ringworld built to capacity, and its people turned out fleets based on the best technical achievements of multiple civilizations. Hybrid intelligence gave birth to tacticas that evolves and learns from the attacks dealt with, i.e., but perhaps the most important preparation of all was broadening the process of integrating black athletes. Individuals of every species in the coalition began volunteering for neural interface rituals that would permit them to share their consciousness with the ring station itself, while still retaining much of what made them who they were. The result was a civilization that was at once ancient and modern, individual and collective, human and alien. They had accomplished what the predecessors never had: unity without uniformity, cooperation without annihilation of self. When the Void Seekers metaformed it at last to drain it of its life, they did not find the soft meat they'd lured to itself, but alliances, the like of which they had not known in all of their existence. Ringworld had grown to be the nucleus of a new order of civilization that embraced old Viathans and new ideas as well. The last war was not so much a war as a discussion between people, debate by means of weaponry. And the Void Seekers stood for stagnation and control, while the Ringworld Coalition stood for growth and partnership. The result was never really in question. Evolution always wins out over entropy. Given time and breathing room, Marcus was now on the Ringworld's observation deck, which had grown dramatically and was populated by billions of beings from hundreds of species. The building had expanded beyond its original plan, integrating multiple cultures and building technologies that represented the mixing pot of its inhabitants. Did we do the right thing? Dr. Rodriguez inquired, her now inner self augmented by merging with predecessor technology. Marcus smiled, aware of the friendly embrace of the hybrid intelligence that joined and linked together all the beings of the Ringworld. We just did what we had to do to survive. But we showed something else, to something more, that cooperation is stronger than conquest, that diversity is more forceful than monotony. The Ringworld had become more than a home or a weapon. It had become a beacon of what could be achieved when species collaborated, when there was a blending of ancient wisdom and modern technologies, when the mistakes of the past had been acknowledged and acted upon. As Marcus watched the stars sweep past, he considered how they'd come to this. They had begun as explorers seeking wisdom, fought as warriors defending their homes, and ended as something new, a spark of connection between the infinite past and the limitless future. The Ringworld was old, but humanity provided it with fresh purpose. They had upgraded its operating system with not only their technology but also their hopes and their dreams, and their firm and unwavering conviction that partnership could be more powerful than conquest, and that, in the end, had made all the difference.